everyone, welcome to another episode of Andy's Black Corner. We're continuing with Chrono Trigger, and without wasting any more time, we're gonna jump right into it because we have a long dungeon to go through. I'll let you exit the castle, but you be careful now. Take care of her. Indeed, sir. It's my turn now. Who's this? Melchior! Can't let you run the whole show. Let me make some weapons from the rainbow shell. Finally, time for me to do something. Watch and learn. Okay, I'll follow, but before that, I forgot something at the trial room, so I'm gonna go and get it. Forgot this. Yakra key. I just gotta find the lock where to use it. And I think I know where it is. Uh-huh. Hey, real Chancellor, you're back. Phew, finally. That beast keeping me locked up in here. Princess Nadia, your friends, I presume? Wait, I don't have time for this. I must prepare for the Moonlight Parade. Is it gonna be a parade? Cool. Okay, so I gotta go and find Melchior. He said that he was gonna go work on the rainbow shell. Should be around here. This is very rare. As armor, it deflects magic. I can make you one prism dress, featuring maximum defense, or I can make 3 less effective prism helms. Which would you prefer? I'll go with the dress. Yeah, the prism dress. Only females may equip it, but that's what I want. Alright, you just wait there. Yeah, make it, buddy. Are you using a drill? Finished. Off we go now. Alright, prism dress. Ah, a sunstone. I'll create an alloy out of it. There's the drill again. Finished. Off you go now. Prism specs. That's probably an accessory. I don't think that's the last of my bag of tricks. What else you got? Finished. Off we go now. Rainbow. Rainbow what? I finally feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. And he leaves. Where are you going? There's plenty of rainbow shell left. You can make some more weapons and armors for me. Well, turns out that that rainbow was a katana, a sword for a Crono, which is pretty good. It is going to boost my attack by a lot. And the accessory, the prism specs, that will give me an improvement on critical hit rate. I will be making many more crit hits for an added damage bonus. Now I'm just gonna tie up a loose end here and pick up an item. Pendant. Pendant is being used to unlock this pyramid finally. The seal has been broken. I will give you the treasure of the Guru of Reason. To the right is a weapon which increases strength. To the left is protective gear which will guard your life. Choose whichever you feel you need and take it with you. 13,000 years was a long time. Balthazar, I shall see you shortly. Got one swallow. That's just a sword for a Crono. Not very good. Now, having done that, we're gonna go to tackle the final dungeon of the game. It's called the Black Omen. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the Black Omen has been mentioned a couple of times before. This is basically the ocean palace now floating up in the sky for a long, long time. People have seen it throughout the ages. Well, 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 it's Queen Zeal. Fools, haven't you learned your lesson? We are immortal. We shall live forever with Lavos who adores this planet even as he sleeps. Within 999 years, he'll become the ruler of this world. The Black Omen is a shrine that provides us with limitless power. As long as the Mighty One reigns, your dreams are hopeless. Looks like she did achieve her dream of living forever, at least for a long, long time. You should sacrifice yourself to the mighty Lavos, and then generic evil laughter. Alright, let's take on the Mega Mutant. It isn't so hard. but the strategy here is to go for the bottom, although you can use multiple target spells. It uses chaos from time to time, so if you have protection against status, you'll be fine, and it's pretty much dead now. One thing I'd like to mention, this is the final dungeon of the game. We're pretty close to finishing. It's a pretty long dungeon and it works great if you don't have all the text for each character because there are some enemies here that drop a lot of, what is it called? Skill points? Tech points? Something like that. So if you want to have all of them, you can grind them here. There's a, uh, remember the Son of Sun? That eye enemy, there's one like it here, and it drops like 100 tech points. And I did that. I did that off camera. Also, the other thing that Chrono Trigger has is triple techs. Some of them you learn by just playing the game and having three characters that can perform that tech together. However, most of them are learned by having the three team members that you need to perform it, but you also have to equip like a rock. I've got like blue rock, white rock, black rock, and then you have to equip it to certain character, and you have to have certain party members present in the battle to be able to perform the triple tech. They cost pretty high MP, but they're devastating. So I don't know if I got them all here in my playthrough, but they're quite useful. Oh look, this is the boss, the enemy I was talking about, the boss orb. If you manage to kill it before the sidekicks, it leaves a lot of tech points. But the sidekicks are constantly running away from battle, and then you don't get anything. No money, no XP, no tech points. And those sidekicks also have high evasion, so you need to equip an accessory that ups your hit rate so that you can actually hit them and kill them before killing the boss orb. One other thing that this game has, another feature that is pretty cool, it's that it has multiple endings. So the way that this works is you have a chance to finish the game at several different points in the story when you confront Lavos. If you remember, you can fight it at certain plot points. One of them, or the first being when you arrive for the first time at the end of time, and then the Guru of Time warns you about a bucket. That bucket leads you to the Day of Lavos. You're probably too low level to be able to kill it by then, but you can certainly try. And if you manage to kill it, then you get certain ending. If you, for example, instead of doing that, you go when you find Lavos at Zeal, when you go to the Ocean Palace for the first time, then you get a different ending. Or if you, for example, remember that I saved Luca's mom from losing the use of her legs? If you don't save her, then the end has a version where she's just, sitting there. But if you do save her, as I did, then she's walking around and she has a different attitude in life because she's cheerful. Now, some of the endings are serious and they just go along with the plot. I don't know which ones are canon, but most of the endings are joke endings. They just show you things about cats, or the other ending where everybody is a dinosaur because the race that went extinct were the humans instead of the dinosaurs. It's kind of showing you different timelines that could have occurred if you didn't meddle with time, or if you meddled to a point where everything was changed in a different direction. And then there's the hardcore ending, which is not like the true ending or anything, but is the one that is the most difficult to get. Um, but in order for me to talk about that ending or how to get it, I have to talk about a different feature that is it's pretty awesome to be included. So the way that you get that is you have to go through the entire game, finish it, whatever means you want to, but you finish it and then you save. And after you've saved the game, instead of just new game or load your game, you have another new option which is called New Game Plus. What does it do? It is a pretty cool concept. Basically, or the gist of it is that you start the game as you would do if you just choose regular new game, but you keep all items, levels, gold, pretty much everything that you had when you finished the game. There are certain things, of course, that don't carry over. Most of them are characters because those are tied up to plot points. You don't carry some items like the Chrono Trigger or the Masamune because again, those are tied to some certain story beats. But when you do recruit the characters, they're the same level that you left them when you finished the game for the first time. So you can end up with pretty beefy characters, pretty beefy Chrono in the beginning of the game. So everything is a breeze until the end again. And you may ask, what is the point of having my characters high level again if everything is going to be really really easy? Well, that's exactly the point, so that you can easily get to those story beats, those story points where you can finish the game in a different manner and get a new ending, a different ending. So it isn't as tedious for you to get through the entire game just to get one joke ending. I think the game has like 13, which is quite a high number. So if you wanted to get all of them, it would be really difficult, boring, tedious to go through the game from level 1 all over again and all over again 13 times. Now, let me backtrack. Since now you have a party with high level and you could create a new game plus, then you can get that hardcore ending that I was talking about. The way to do that is you start with Chrono, you go to the Millennial Fair, you recruit Marley, and then you interact with the teleport again. And the teleport, remember, it was from the left teleport, you would teleport to the right teleport, right? Only that when Marley had the pendant, it interacted with it, it created the gate, and she would travel back in time, just as the plot regularly goes. But before that, you will see that on the right teleport, there will be like a shiny item that you can interact with. And if you go, you will be prompted to go to the Day of Lavos or just staying in where you are at the Millennial Fair. If you go to the Day of Lavos, then you go and face Lavos, of course, with the levels that you have, but it's only Chrono and Marley. So if you manage to beat Lavos with those two characters, then you get the best ending. Well, no, not the best ending, just the most difficult to get. And well, it's kind of like a strange one. It's not a joke ending, but it's also not a serious one. Basically, you go to this entirely different map and you interact with a lot of NPCs, but each NPC represents one of the developers of the game. So there's Hironobu Sakaguchi, there's Akira Toriyama, there's Yasunori Mitsuda, a lot of people that worked on the games, and they make some jokes, but at the same time they give you some sort of insight into the game's development. So it becomes a pretty interesting thing to read about. Just talk to each one of them, interact with them, and hear their stories, what they remember about the development of the game. It's like a window in time, when they were working on it. Pretty fitting for the game's theme. Yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. An interesting feature. I don't think it had been done before. And since then, some other games have gotten it. I know Chrono Cross did it, but it was only natural being a sequel, a spiritual sequel. Let me see. What else is there to talk about the game? Well, other than the features that I already mentioned, I should say that this game was originally released for the SNES in 1995, and then it saw two additional releases for the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, and then afterwards for the Nintendo DS. And what I remember that was added to the PlayStation version was some anime cutscenes, especially the intro and the finale, like the ending cutscene, but also some story beats got some interesting cutscenes, and it was done by Akira Toriyama's studio, so the animation was pretty cool, pretty high end. And if I'm not mistakenly remembering, they also added another ending to tie up some of the story from Chrono Trigger to Chrono Cross, which had already been released for the PlayStation. So they kind of like made the story a little tighter to make the two stories connected. Wow, what's this? Clones? That's weird. Are they studying us? It's got all of us except for Magus. Hey, Zeal. Behold my prettiest destiny in its most brutal form. All the dreams that might have been, all the happiness and sorrow you might have experienced, gone forever. For you there will be no tomorrow. The Dark Omen transcends time and space, waiting for Lavos to awaken. Destiny has led you here, and here you shall rest forever, unless you can defeat me and smash the Omen. Very dramatic. Come, dear friends, perhaps I can persuade Lavos to share his dreams with you. Did I say dreams? I meant his eternal nightmare. Drama queen indeed. Oof, now that is a big move. First round and then you bring my HP all the way down to 1? And now you kill Luca? Not cool. Oh, that was just ether. But in the end it seems to pay off that I hoarded all these items during the course of the game. I can use them here because these are the last battles. For instance, I just used an item I hadn't used before. It recovers 200 hit points for each one of the pattern members. That's pretty useful. Doing it again, huh? Not cool. I told you, not cool. So yeah, basically it looks like the battle with Zeal is another dance between her doing that freaking attack, dropping all my health to 1 on each character, me trying to survive that by getting everybody back to life, healing everybody, and then trying to hit her with my strongest spells. And on top of that, she recovers magic from me. That sucks. Okay, I was talking about the versions, the re-releases. So for the Nintendo DS, they did something special. They included the anime cutscenes that I mentioned, but they also did something pretty interesting, I would say. You see, back then it wasn't easy to sort of like hack into these games, but some people got creative and they figured out how to read the source files, and they found out that the game cartridge had an unfinished dungeon and then had a piece of music that was never used in the actual game. It was still stored, the file was still stored in the cartridge, but it wasn't used. It wasn't fitting in any battles, any dungeons, and it was called like the Singing Mountain. It was called. So people figured that there had been some content cut from the game, maybe because they needed to launch the game at a certain date and they hadn't had the time to finish that dungeon. And everybody kept wondering what it was or what it was used for or what was the intention for that dungeon and then the music piece. And people speculated for years about this. Nobody had an answer. So Square, when they were working on the re-release, instead of just repackaging everything that they had for the SNES version or the PS version on the DS version, they actually worked on the game a little bit more. Got some people together. Obviously, it wasn't the original developers, but they got people together and they expanded on the game by creating or restoring that lost dungeon, and also expanding on the storyline that I mentioned, the connection between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. Um, and they also added like an arena where you can battle monsters and participate in gauntlet battles. You know, battling enemies one after the other for some high-end items. I'm not really interested in that. And aside from those versions that they put out, there have been others like the Steam release, and I understand that that one can stand on its own legs because it has high quality. But the same cannot be said about the mobile versions that they put out. Nice damage. She's done. Mega Elixir. Alright, my powers don't seem to work here. Wait, I'll simply toss you into the Mammon machine. You'll be one with the Omen, Lavos, and me. Oh. Here's an interesting thing about this boss. You remember it? It was used in Zeal, and it was basically drawing energy from Lavos, who in turn was drawing the energy from the planet, or Gaia in this case, because there's a lot of references to Greek mythology, Christianity, um, Jewish tradition. So in this case, Gaia is the planet, Lavos is basically um, a parasite drawing all the energy from the core of Gaia, and then the Mammoth machine is used to sort of retrieve that energy and use it in Zeal. Okay, now Mammon, the name Mammon, is used in Christian tradition and comes from the New Testament. I think is the Gospel of Matthew and Luke. They mention this name and they attribute the name to a demon or a being that represents greed, avarice, and riches, or more than riches, the love of riches. Um, so basically, what they're saying is if you worship money, or the obtention of riches, money, and wealth, then you're sinning because your focus is not in loving God, but loving a material possession, right? So this is a great reference because in the game, the Mammon machine is being used by Zeal to obtain something out of Lavos, its energy, so that she can fulfill her dreams of being immortal. She is using energy and focusing on that to accomplish a pretty selfish goal. And let's not forget that the kingdom of Seal and its people they were very self-complacent, and they also humiliated the people they saw as lesser, the Earthbound, the ones that had no magic. So all in all, not a great bunch of people. Let's recap. The Mama Machine is named after a demon representing the desire of accumulating wealth. This machine provides Zeal with energy that is draining from the planet through Lavos, right? Well, here's an interesting thing. In Spanish, the word mammon, different spelling, but a similar sound. Well, actually, you would say it mamon with a different emphasis, and it literally translates to sucker. In Spanish, you actually would use it in a rather crude manner as an insult, but I think that understanding that adds a rather interesting layer to the hidden meanings, second readings, and further analogies or allegories that you can draw from the game. Don't you think? Well, Mammon Machine destroyed. What else is there, game? What else do you have to throw at me, huh? Come on. Looks like we're really high up. We have reached upper atmosphere. You cretins! I plan to live with Lavos and control the universe forever. You will not get in my way. Indulge in such regrets in the next life. Okay. Wow, this is it. Queen Zeal. A disembodied pair of hands and a face. Should we talk about the etymology of the name Zeal? Because the significance is pretty clear to me, I think. Because a zealous person, in my rusty English, means that somebody is a really fanatic person, right? They have certain beliefs and they will defend them at any cost. They will never see reason, they will defy any logic that goes against their system of beliefs, and they will go to any lengths to maintain that image of the world that has been created for them or that they created themselves. In this case, I think that the reference is pretty straightforward. Queen Seal had a goal, and that was to live forever. She loved life so much, I guess, that she wanted to extend her, prolong her life as much as possible by using magic, which was basically the byproduct of Lavos' intervention in the planet. So she thought she was using Lavos to accomplish her goals, when in truth it was the other way around. Lavos was using her and pretty much everybody on the planet. But I'm digressing. What I'm trying to say is that Seal was so single-mindedly focusing on getting her desires, she was willing to sacrifice her kingdom, her people, and even her children. Let's not forget that she used Shala and her pendant to not only create the Mammon machine, but try to use it to withdraw as much energy from Lavos as possible. That's why she commanded for people to build the Ocean Palace so she could be closer to Lavos and theoretically get more magic, more energy. And she never cared about anybody else but her and her pursuit of magic and usage of Lavos' power. Um, Even in the original timeline, which was shown to us when Janus was sent in time, forward in time to the year 600, Shala was left there, and the gurus were scattered throughout time. She was relentless. She just kept going after her goal. That was all that mattered. So, zealous is an adjective that very much exemplifies her behavior. Now, I mentioned this because of two reasons. Number one, the simplest one, theory crafting is quite fun. Just to think about the hidden meanings and the connections that you're not seeing at first glance, that's really interesting to me. And etymology is just one of many things that you can analyze about any piece of art, because, in my opinion, video games are an art form. My second reason for saying this, or for doing this, have you ever attended like a lecture on a literary work, or perhaps read an article discussing a theater play, a movie, sometimes songs, analyzing their lyrics? Mostly I've seen this with books. And in those critiques, those analysis, the person doing the analysis often says, okay, in this page, in this paragraph, in this sentence, the author says this because their intention is to signify that. And then you stop and think, why do they give so much thought about that? It's just a line about blue curtains or about the kettle on the stove. It's sometimes, like they say, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but no, these people analyzing them give so much meaning behind the words that you stop and wonder, was the author really thinking about that, or he was just putting a kettle on the oven, or the curtains was just blue because he likes the color blue? But then you go a little deeper and you start finding this backstory to each element, like I explained about the Mammon Machine, or Zeal, or Belshazzar, or Gaspar, or Melchior. You know, the three gurus. Well, those are also the names of the three magi that visited Jesus and supposedly brought gifts. So, again, when you slowly think about those connections, you start seeing some pretty interesting things. Like, for example, I never mentioned this, but Magus's real name here in the game is Janus, you know, Queen Zeal's son, Janus. Oh, Janus is also the name of a Roman god, and it is usually depicted as a two-faced god. And the lore goes that one of the faces looks forward, the other one is looking backwards. And funny thing, the month January comes from that god, because January is right at the start of the year in our calendar. So it's funny. We're supposed to be looking towards the future, but with our other face looking towards the past, analyzing what we did wrong and everything that happened to us, and then looking forward to all the things that may happen to us in the future. Again, past and future, something that is central here to Chrono Trigger. Does that feel like a coincidence? That seems pretty intentional in my opinion. I don't know. It may seem crazy, but there's something there. Food for thought. Folks, this is what I can tell you right now. Thank you for staying with me during that rambling, but here's what matters. There's only one more episode to go, and that will be the finale. We'll be squaring off against Lavos and see if we can save this planet once and for all. So, thank you for joining me for so long, and I'll see you next episode.